Thanks for tuning in to Electric Bike Journal. Today we're going to show you how to change out your rear tire, fix a flat, do what you need to do to this rear wheel when you have a rear hub drive motor on your electric bike. Now normally when you're removing the rear wheel from your bike, it's a pretty straightforward process. However, when there is a rear hub motor, there are a few details that you have to pay attention to accomplish that task safely and correctly. Those key details involve being able to safely manage holding the bike up. With that extra weight from the rear hub motor, you're going to want to make sure that it is balanced safely. A lot of bikes come with kickstands, so you're able to use that to your advantage to hold the bike up. We happen to have a bike stand, so we're going to do this process with it hanging. If you don't have that available to you, don't worry about it. You can still get this done. Now, one of the first steps in removing the rear wheel from your electric bike is going to be unplugging the motor. Now make sure you do this process with the bike turned off. If it is in the on state, you could risk damaging some of the electrical components. Now with the motor unplugged, the next thing to do before you loosen up your axle and remove the wheel is to get your derailleur in the chain furthest away from the wheel, closest to the frame there. Now with the chain furthest away from the wheel, closest to the frame there, you know exactly what gear you're in when you go to put the wheel back on the bike, and it creates the most slack on your chain, making it easier to get the wheel off. If you happen to have a Shimano or similar derailleur with a clutch, when the clutch is disengaged, the derailleur will move down freely. If it is engaged, there's resistance there. So make sure that that's loose, and now your chain is free to move out of the way. This will vary depending on the bike. It may be a 15mm or an 18mm nut. Whichever it is, go find out and make sure you have that tool available for if you need it out on the road. With the hardware loose and removed from the rear axle there, you will be able to move any spacers. Just remember what order they go into and what orientation they were on when you took them off. Beyond that, relieve some pressure off of your derailleur and let the wheel come down. Now, as a word of caution with your wheel removed, having disc brakes on your bike, don't grab that rear brake lever. By doing so, you'll cause those brake pads to collapse, and it'll be a lot of work to relieve that pressure so you can get the wheel back on. So just mental note, don't grab the brake. Now with the wheel off, go ahead and let all of the air out of your tire so that way there's no air in there to pinch and ruin your tube. If you already have a flat, still release the pressure on your valve to let the air out. With air out of the tire, you're going to want to de-seat the tire from the rim. Simply grab it, pinch it, and pull it back, and you'll hear it snap or pop off of the bead. And then just work your way around to loosen up the rest of that tire. With one side fully de-seated, go ahead and flip that wheel around and do the other side. That'll just give the most slack to the tire from the rim, allowing you to get it off much easier. A tire lever is a great tool to have on you in your kit or just at home at the very least. These are especially designed to fit underneath the tire and over the rim to pull the tire off of the rim. The fact that they're plastic means that they won't damage your rim, and they're still strong enough to get that tire off. With the hook side facing up, go ahead and put it underneath one side of the tire and pull it up over the rim. Put some pressure there and work your way around. Now having one tool is nice, two makes it better. Not every tire is made to the same specs, so they may be tighter on your rim, and that's where having two of these will make that job much easier. Now with half of the tire off the rim, if you're only fixing your tube or replacing your tube, you can leave the rest of the tire on the rim and just pull your tube out. If you're replacing the whole tire, this is the moment to pull it off. Now we're replacing the whole tire and the tube was totally fine. So in order to keep that safe, we're going to put it up out of the way so we don't step on it and accidentally cause any damage. Much the same as keeping your tube free from accidental damage. When your rim is now exposed, you're going to want to make sure you have a spot to safely set it down. I put a rag on the floor, or you can rest it on your shoe. Before you go ahead and put the new tire back on, you're going to want to take a rag or a towel and clean the inside of the rim on the rim strip there, just in case there's any debris or anything that got into that area, because that will cause damage to the tube and could lead to another flat all too soon. Now it's time to install the new tire onto your wheel. You're going to want to look at your tire and see if there's a rotational direction. It'll be marked on the side of the tire, and that'll let you know which way the wheel needs to spin. Likewise, you're going to want to line up your wheel in that same rotation, so that'll put your cassette on the right side and your disc brake on the left side. Line up your tire and start putting it back on. Now that you have the orientation of the tire and the rim aligned, find your valve stem hole, and that is what you're going to line up with the branding on the tire. This is a better looking way of putting the tire onto the rim, and also will help the tire go onto the rim the easiest way possible. Since we're aligning that Schwalbe logo up with the hole on the rim, we're going to go ahead and put that on there in the right orientation. Now that the tire is halfway on the rim, go ahead and flip your wheel around to the other side and grab your tube. Locate your valve stem, both on your tube and on your rim. Now you can lower the tube into your tire and put the valve stem through the wheel. Go ahead and tuck your tube into the tire, making sure it's evenly spaced and all the way around. If it's a brand new tube, make sure you loosen up that valve to let some air in there. That'll help it create better shape. Now with the tube and the tire halfway on the bike, go ahead and flip to the opposite side of the valve stem on the rim and start putting the tire all the way on. With it now getting out of reach, spin your tire around towards the top and continue to pull the rest of your tire onto the rim. When you're pulling that on, some tires are easier than others. Just make sure that you don't catch the tube between the tire and the rim. That'll cause what is called a pinch flat. You don't want that. Now with the tire fully on there, this is a great time before you add air to the wheel to verify that you did put the tire on in the right direction. It happens to us all. Sometimes we get things backwards and we'll put it on the wrong way. So check that now before you add your air. There's our rotational arrow, and coincidentally right next to it will suggest the minimum and maximum tire pressure. So go ahead and reference that and add the air to your wheel now. Now the Orbea uses Presta valves. You may have Schrader valves on your bike. Either way, the process is the same. You're gonna grab your pump. We happen to have an electric one that we can preset our pressure to, and simply attach that pump to your valve and air it up to your minimum tire pressure. Now that the tire's aired up, with a new tire we suggest to go around the rim and the tire and make sure that the tire has seated fully. You'll be able to tell based off of a little rubber bead that shows up. That is a good indicator to tell if the tire has fully seated onto the rim. As you can see between these two fingers that the tire is seated on one side and not seated on the other. So you're gonna wanna add more pressure to help get that tire to fully seat on the rim. All right, well now your tube and tire is taken care of. You're ready to get out riding. Time to put your wheel back on. Bring it back up into your frame. Move the chain around and locate that first cog on the cassette there, and that'll help you get everything indexed correctly. And on the back side, you'll just want to check that the disc lines up with the caliper, and everything will go right back into place. On this specific bike, we have to take the washer and nut off of the axle to get it onto the bike. There's a little offset there, a little guide to keep things straight. You're gonna go ahead and put that back on there. You're gonna tighten your wheel down. Now that your wheel is back on the bike, don't forget to plug back in your hub motor. Otherwise, you're just gonna have a really heavy bike. Well, there you have it. Our Orbea Vibe is ready to get back out on the road. We swapped this bike over to the Schwalbe Marathon tires. These are e-bike specific tires, ready for an e-bike, GreenGuard protection, and a little extra boost to get maximum mileage out of this battery. So we're gonna get out there. See you in the next video.